We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call. We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call.
I have a call on you. You have to identify yourself to me. You understand what I'm telling you?
We'll need his ID.
I'm just gonna take his ID and we're gonna
Daddy, you want us to take his whole wallet or just
to give your ID? I just wanted you to know who he was.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so he's been identified. He's identified himself. She's identified him and verified who he is and where he lives.
We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call.
It's not a crime.
And we say, hey sir, we have a call here.
What do you want to see?
Need you to identify yourself, please. Like, no, I'm not identifying myself. You don't have to identify me, and so on. We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call. Once we place him on arrest, we can't unarrest him. Does that make sense? If you're here to water the plants, that's okay. Just please identify yourself, just your name, and let us call the owner. And he didn't want to do that until he caught the charge. We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call.
It's not a crime.
You're probably wondering, like me, how is this officer so stupid, so ignorant? And the answer is, this is Alabama, ranked 49 out of 50 for education in the United States. Cops typically are not the most intelligent creatures in the first place, but Alabama gets to pick from a pool of some of the least educated individuals in the United States. Police also often say that because they got a call, they had to show up. If police have to show up when called, even if they aren't called about an actual crime, and you have to ID because you are the one called about, then quite literally, I could call the police and tell them that my neighbor is black. They would have to show up because I called, and he would have to ID because he was called about. There's a reason that laws have to pass a constitutional standard. There's also a reason that you don't have to give ID unless you're suspected of a crime. What happened here happened. We can't go back and change it, and it was wrong. But here's my biggest concern. It seems to me that every last one of these officers genuinely believes that they have the legal and lawful authority to identify anyone just because they got a call.
We're not investigating a crime, we're investigating a call.
It's not a crime.
That tells me that they likely do this all day, every day, and this just happens to be the one time that somebody actually stood up for themselves and their rights, and that it went public and we were all able to see it. Due to the fact that these officers actually believe that what they did was okay, they will continue to do it. We all make mistakes, and that is okay. The point where I really have a problem is when you refuse to admit that you made a mistake and therefore make a choice to keep repeating the same mistake. Hey guys, this one's already gone viral and it's pissing off a lot of people. An Alabama pastor gets arrested while watering his neighbor's plants for them while they're out of town. Officially, the Childersburg, Alabama police say that they're arresting him for obstruction. There are two different Alabama statutes for obstruction, and we'll go over both of them in just a few minutes. I'll put a link to this full, uncut, unedited video in the description below. The Childersburg, Alabama Police Department got a call from a neighbor saying that there was someone at her neighbor's house who doesn't belong there. When they arrive, they find Pastor Jennings watering the plants outside of the residence. He tells the officer who he is and what he's doing, and based on visual observation, it's pretty clear what he's doing. It's immediately clear that nothing nefarious is going on and no crimes are being committed, and that it's just a nosy neighbor who needs to mind her own business and stop calling the police. At this point, the officer should have just left, but he didn't.
Howdy.
Hey man, how's it going?
Pretty good. What you doing here, man?
Water flower.
All right, they saying that, is that your vehicle?
No,
It's not?
it's the neighbor's vehicle.
The neighbors?
314, I'll be on 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
You live here?
no, I don't live here.
Okay. They saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be
Who's
here.
saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
Watering their flowers.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and
Oh
all?
no, man. I'm not gonna give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong. And they did
Well,
nothing
you look,
suspicious.
listen. I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
Doc, listen,
There's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater. Don't come here with that. Okay?
Look, man, don't do this to me. There's a suspicious person in the yard, and if you're not one to identify yourself.
I don't have to identify myself. It's not a stop and identify state. That guy know me. He came to my store that got broke in. I live right over there across the street. Who called y'all?
That's what we got to figure out. But first,
who called?
You
Is a
live
black
here?
man
He
out
don't
here
live here.
warning his neighbor problems. You think
I'm not
doing
saying
something
nothing
illegal?
about.
You have no right to approach me if I ain't did nothing suspicious or nothing wrong. Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor until I don't hear.
Sir.
You want to lock me up? Lock me up.
Nobody wants to
Lock me.
up.
I'm not showing y'all anything. I'm gonna continue to water these flowers. I don't care who called y'all. Lock me up and see what happens. I want you to.
Hey man, just come here and talk to us.
What? These back flowers is what I'm finna do. Who called y'all?
Well, if you would let us talk to you, we can figure stuff out.
You know, you're going to catch an obstruction charge if you keep walking away.
You can do whatever you want. Do it. Do it.
We're just trying to talk to you, man. Come here.
313, 314, follow.
10-4. We got one that's not listening to us. Look, man, let me see your phone. Let me see your phone, dude. Just calm down, okay?
No.
Stop.
I like this.
Okay. We're just trying to talk to you and see.
I don't want to argue with you, okay?
All right, go ahead and do what you got to do, Doc.
You
Do what you got to do. Go on and lock me up.
Look, just have a seat.
It's already
not locked up. You're
It's
just.
already a lawsuit,
Yes,
Doc.
sir. Yes, sir.
It's already a
Okay.
lawsuit.
Just have a seat, okay?
Okay? Already a lawsuit. Already a lawsuit.
313. Show us. 1026. One black man. Sit down. Sit down, man. Just.
Okay, let me call my wife.
You're not calling nobody.
My son just got racially profiled in Michigan. He's got his master's degree. He's an athletic director. 3 police profiler came in. I was ex-police officer from Goodwater. I told you I'm a pastor.
Okay, look, man.
Who called y'all?
We.
I don't have to ID myself.
You will not listen.
I have a call on you. You have to identify yourself to me. You understand what I'm telling you?
This officer actually just said that if I have a call on you, you have to identify yourself. He couldn't be any more wrong. There is absolutely no state in the United States of America where you are obligated to identify yourself unless police have reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime that you have committed, are committing, or are about to commit. We got a call is not reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. The truth is that most citizens are just as ignorant as cops. Therefore, they will call the police when there is no crime. Police also often say that because they got a call, they had to show up. If police have to show up when called, even if they aren't called about an actual crime, and you have to ID because you are the one called about, then quite literally, I could call the police and tell them that my neighbor is black. They would have to show up because I called, and he would have to ID because he was called about. There's a reason that laws have to pass a constitutional standard. There's also a reason that you don't have to give ID unless you're suspected of a crime. There is no law in the state of Alabama that says that you have to identify yourself to a police officer because they got a call. We'll go over the actual statutes pertaining to this in just a couple minutes.
No, I don't. You wait, watch how you want. Take me down, book me. Go do what you need to do. Go do what you need to do.
While the deputy is waiting for the nosy Karen who should have minded her own business to come out, the man who's been illegally detained is yelling at the officers for illegally detaining him.
Hey, you know what? 10-15. 10-15. 10-15. I ain't gonna sit there and have that, dude.
Will you let my wife?
No, you ain't letting nothing now.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Now the man is under arrest for a verbal protest of an illegal detention.
313. Show me 10-15. One black man. I got to get gas, so he needs to go on someone else's. I mean, I don't know if they called.
We'll look on the log and see who called.
I mean, I saw the gold SUV, so and I saw him outside, and all I did said, "Hey man, do you live here?" "No." "Is that your car?" "No, it's the neighbor's." So I'm finna go over here and run the tag. Oh no, sitting there hollering.
I'm trying to explain to him that we got a call and we have the right to identify him, and he says I'm talking to him like a child.
If you're a pastor and you're here watering a neighbor's yard, that's fine if you got permission.
No trespassing private property.
Police end up talking to the woman that called and find out that she actually knows the pastor that she called the police on.
Do you know that gentleman back?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Does he have
He
permission?
lives right there.
Okay, does he have permission here to be watering flowers?
He may because they are friends.
Okay.
And they went out of town today, so
Right.
he may be watering their flowers.
Okay.
Be completely normal.
Okay,
And that's
is that
fine.
that's fine. If he would have said, "Hey, I got this," gave his identification because he's a suspicious person, he said that's not his vehicle; it's their vehicle.
We
Okay.
have a call. Like,
Yeah.
we're here because we're called here. I don't know who called, but somebody did.
Did you call us?
313. Rory Milam.
Look, we all know that cops are mindless idiots, but this also all could have been avoided if someone had taught this woman that you never call the police. If you think that someone is at your neighbor's house that doesn't belong there, good looking out. But go check on it yourself. Don't call these idiots. She's lucky that Pastor Jennings was only arrested by these cops and not murdered by them for watering his neighbor's plants.
Step out.
Miss Sister Connie and
What's wrong with you?
my cuffs are a little bit tight if y'all don't mind loosening them up.
sure he's.
Listen to me, man. Is that better?
Actually about to go over to his house.
Listen, let me talk to you. Who is Roy Milam? That's you, ain't it?
I'm Michael Jennings, sir.
You're Michael Jennings. Who is Roy Milam?
I don't know.
Okay, that's who that vehicle belongs to.
Yeah, that's
who
all I know. His name is Roy.
That's who lives here?
That's Roy. I call him Roy and call his wife Connie, and I've been dealing with him for 7 years that I've been living here.
They are friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you called not because of a car, but because you thought someone saw someone besides him.
Right, I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, I got to keep their flowers watered. I got to keep their flowers watered while they're gone. You okay? And by the way, I won't get to come to the graduation, but we're going to get your son something.
No, don't.
Listen to me, man. Listen to me. Anytime the police come out and they say, we want to identify you, you have to identify yourself because there's a reasonable suspicion, there's a reasonable man, there's a vehicle. There's a reasonable suspicion that you're here. It's not a crime.
You're probably wondering, like me, how is this officer so stupid, so ignorant? And the answer is, this is Alabama, ranked 49 out of 50 for education in the United States. Cops typically are not the most intelligent creatures in the first place, but Alabama gets to pick from a pool of some of the least educated individuals in the United States. Alabama's piss-poor education is second only to New Mexico, home of Peter Nieto.
Yeah.
If you would have said, yeah, here's my name, here's everything, we were like, okay.
I told him my name.
You didn't tell me your name.
I decided, he asked me who I was. I said,
you didn't give it to me when I first asked.
Pastor Jennings.
That's not a name. That's a pastor.
Yeah.
I need your name.
The way y'all handle this situation was totally wrong.
Well, listen.
You racial profile.
We're not racial profile.
Yes,
no, sir. No, sir. We're not about that.
I told you I was here watering the flowers.
How do I know that's the truth?
Anybody. I had the water hose in my hand. I was watering all the flowers.
Anybody can pick a hose pipe up.
He is gonna be so pissed when I tell him I got arrested watering his flowers. 7 years we've been friends.
We got that. Look, let's sit back in here.
Okay.
You can sit down. Give me, so we can get this going on the ball. All right. What is your social?
I'm not gonna give him a social.
You need to give me your social.
I'll give you my name. That's all I'm gonna give you. You're not gonna run no 27 and 28 on me and get me in the system for no reason.
Under no circumstances ever are you required to give your social security to law enforcement. This is an illegal arrest, not a credit check.
Right, what's your
the girl already told you who I am.
Okay, yes,
I'm Michael Jennings. That's all you
Michael Jennings. What are we gonna do with him?
We'll see the charge of, I guess, disorderly conduct, the failure to obey a police officer. He refused to give any information.
He said he's not gonna give me his social, but he gave me his name and date of birth.
Okay, and she's saying the same thing. She won't give her name.
Her?
Yeah, because he got arrested.
Jesus.
So we'll just go by the computer on there.
Okay.
And I'll write a statement with you. He told me, I tried to explain it to him.
Right.
And he said, I'm talking to him like a boy. I said, if you'll just listen to me, you'll be an audio and video recorded. What we're trying to do is identify yourself and what's going on here. He wouldn't even let me. He wanted to yell over me and say we're racial profiling and I'm talking to him like he's a boy.
Nobody was doing that.
Even the woman who called refuses to identify herself, and so the officers talk about running her tags off of her car in her driveway to get her last name.
Amanda, and there's her phone number.
Yeah.
If we have to get her last name, all we got to do is go by it and run her tag.
What's she running for?
I have no idea.
I mean, this could have been all avoided if he would have just...
Well, I told her that. And every time I try to tell him, he just says, you good, man, I appreciate this. I appreciate it, you know, because
all he does is racial profiling, he's suing. That's all he would say. You couldn't talk to him.
Well, wasn't going to detain him until he walked away, started coming to the front yard saying he's coming to water these plants. And then he gets his phone out and he just keeps speeding walking away. And I said, okay, fine, come here. Because at that point I realized he's not going to do anything to help us out.
What's the charge? So just obstruction?
Disorderly or obstruction.
Obstruction.
I'll just do obstruction.
Obstruction of governmental operations.
Yeah.
We're here to investigate a call and he wouldn't give us his name or any other thing. Yeah, we told him he was trying to call the owner. But still, I need his name. You know, we gotta have his name.
Yeah.
He seems like a reasonable, nice guy. I don't understand. You know?
He shouldn't. If he's a good water policeman, he said this ain't an identifying state. Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if he's pastor or if he's a pastor or not. Like the thing is, he seems like a nice enough, reasonable guy.
Yeah.
Just talk to us, man. Like I'll tell you what's going on, okay? And so we got a call here, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll need his ID.
I'm just gonna take his ID and we're gonna.
Well, we'll just.
Daddy.
You want us to take his whole wallet or just?
To give your ID?
I just wanted you to know who he was.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
If he don't give me an ID and we don't have a way to identify him, I will have to book him on John Doe. But if he's got it, then that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, he's okay. So he's been identified. He's identified himself. She's identified him and verified who he is and where he lives.
I'm the missionary, so.
But when we get here, of course, we're going to immediately investigate the call.
Yes.
Find him on scene. All he's doing is watering the plants, and that's not a problem.
What do you want? What do you want to do?
And we say, hey, sir, we have a call here.
What do you want to do?
Need you to identify yourself, please. Like, no, I'm not identifying myself. You don't have to identify me, and so on. And he began to walk away. And we wouldn't listen, and he's walking away, so of course we detain him. We don't know what's going on.
Gotcha.
After that, we radioed for them to contact her, have her step out and talk to us. Well, she does tell us it's a mistake and all that stuff. But at this point, he's already collected the charge. Once we place him on arrest, we can't unarrest him. Does that make sense?
This is so simple. And the neighbor just told him this morning, please water the plants and take care of them.
He said that, but it was all
house.
afterwards. It was all afterwards. Yeah. And all we told him was like, if you're here to water the plants, that's okay. Just please identify yourself, just your name, and let us call the owner. And he didn't want to do that until he caught the charge.
So there are 2 Alabama codes that an officer might charge Pastor Jennings with in this particular situation if the officer were severely undereducated or illiterate. The first one is Alabama Code 13A-9-18.1. A person commits the crime of giving a false name or address to law enforcement officer if the person gives a false name or address to a law enforcement officer in the course of the officer's official duties with intent to mislead the officer. Giving a false name or address to a law enforcement officer is a Class A misdemeanor. This statute says that it's illegal to give a false ID or lie about your name and address. It says nothing about refusing to give ID. The second code that an undereducated or illiterate officer would possibly use in this instance is 13A-8-194. While very similar to the previous code, this one has to do with using false ID to avoid a summons, arrest, or prosecution, or to impede a criminal investigation. Pastor Jennings didn't do anything illegal, which is why his charges were dismissed. It's time for the department to admit that they were dead wrong about this so that they don't continue to do it to others.
So what do we need to do now?
He's going to go to the Childersburg Police Department. We're going to process the arrest report. It's going to be one charge for obstruction of our investigation. He'll go to the jail. He can bond out immediately. You can get your bondsman. It'll be 10% of the bond.
So it'd be like $50.
We're not investigating a crime. We're investigating a call. And we have a right to identify anybody involved in that call.
Look, guys, what happened here happened. We can't go back and change it, and it was wrong. But here's my biggest concern. It seems to me that every last one of these officers genuinely believes that they have the legal and lawful authority to identify anyone just because they got a call. That tells me that they likely do this all day, every day, and this just happens to be the one time that somebody actually stood up for themselves and their rights, and that it went public and we were all able to see it. I looked for a public statement from the department and even reached out to them in person to try to get answers. Of course, they didn't call me back. Most importantly, due to the fact that these officers actually believe that what they did was okay, they will continue to do it. We all make mistakes, and that is okay. The point where I really have a problem is when you refuse to admit that you made a mistake and therefore make a choice to keep repeating the same mistake.